set now. Good evening. Welcome to the Howell Township Council regular meeting. First, we will be calling the meeting to order. Please read the opening statement and roll call, please.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this special meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on May 10, 2019, by sending a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on May 10, 2019, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on May 10, 2019. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127, NJAC 17:27. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to the right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich is not here yet.
Deputy Mayor, Councilman Bonovich had a work conflict, as did the mayor. The mayor said she'll be running late, but did not give an estimated time of arrival.
Thank you.
Ms. Richmond?
Present.
Mr. Russo?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Here. Thank you. All right. Next, we have the ABC hearing, and the purpose of this hearing is for us to hear, to hear the objection filed against an ABC Placo Play Transfer application for the license. Let me see. I'm going to annihilate this name. Holder
Rajith? Yeah?
Yes.
Rajith.
LLC, a wine
Winoland.
and we will be taking formal action. Gentlemen?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, members of council. Sean Gertner on behalf of the objector. I'd first like to thank you three particularly, obviously members of council. We know this is an early meeting, a special meeting, and we appreciate your time. After discussion with the applicant's counsel and Mr. Clark, we determined that, you've had opportunity to read our objection, the reply, and in this particular case, I think both council agreed, as well as Mr. Clark, that this argument is more of a question of law and application. So there's going to be no cross-examination per se or presentation of witnesses. I'm going to respectfully make an argument, as lawyers do. Council will rebut that. I'm retaining some time just for a brief rebuttal, and then you will deliberate as directed by your counsel. Our argument, in a nutshell, is one called out as a undisclosed interest. ABC, is a the sale of alcoholic beverages, I should say, in New Jersey, as you're well aware, is a highly regulated industry in this state. And the state of New Jersey is very particular to make certain that licensees only own 2 licenses, and that there's no involvement of folks who are not undisclosed to both the municipality issuing the license as well as to ABC proper. So when the objection was first filed, and I think this is important right from the beginning, we made the argument in papers, and we were subsequently proven to be correct, that there is no that Saker ShopRite is not the landlord, that they are in fact the sub-landlord letting to the sub-lessee. And that, at the end of the day, is the crux of our argument. This is one of the few places that as the initial place of allocating the license, of approving these transfers, where you can look at economics, because it's very important. And you have an interest to ensure that the licenses that you issue in Howell Township maintain their value. Now, it's unrefuted, and though we did Oprah request and we checked, that Saker's ShopRite already owns 2 liquor licenses, and therefore cannot own a liquor license in Howell Township. Instead, we argue that by subleasing this property and advertising or potentially advertising the way in which they will do it, some joint advertising, marketing for gift baskets and the like, that in the end of the day, they have in fact an undisclosed interest and create an unfair advantage, thereby devaluing other liquor licenses in Howell Township, and quite frankly, particularly my clients, who is right across the street and been a long time license holder as well. And we admitted that in our papers, that we are a competitor. I mean, there's no hidden agenda per se. This agenda is direct. Now, council, through papers, provide the proofs, ABC, a long time ago. This is not the first rodeo on this issue, where a person or an entity that already holds 2 leases or subleases a space to a subsequent holder. The issue then becomes, though, if you are intent on approving the place-to-place transfer, it's very important to create the regulatory scheme to protect the balance of the license holders in Howell Township, to ensure that, as separate as the council argues they are, with a lease, with a separate space, with no entrances from ShopRite directly and the like, that those are specific conditions on the license, so that both your ABC investigator, whomever that is in the municipality, usually it's a sergeant, but I apologize, I don't know who it is here particularly, as well as ABC investigators can make sure that there is no, again, this undisclosed interest. Moreover, I would argue, and we asked for it in our papers, and it was never provided per se, what are the terms of that sublease? They make an argument that they can sublease, but you don't know what they are. Now, in your application, the form application from ABC, if there was a mortgage, for instance, that information, the amount of the lien, et cetera, would be disclosed. We're very concerned that we still don't know what the terms and conditions, nor do you, as far as we understand, because we Oprah'd the application. We don't know the economic terms and conditions of that sublease. I'm going to be facetious to make the point. And that is, if it's only $1 a year, to take it to the absolute extreme, that's clearly an undisclosed interest and creates a competitive advantage, an unfair competitive advantage to the applicant who wishes to transfer into ShopRite. Now, I don't know if it's $1 a year or not. The issue is you don't either. And in order to make a determination as to whether, an initial determination, if you get to know who holds a mortgage or a lien and how much that lien is, you ought to know what the terms are of the lease. Now, if there are reasons to redact that to strike that to potential objectors or member of the public, that's a determination ultimately for Mr. Clark in terms of Oprah requests. But certainly you should be aware of that, because you have both an interest and respectfully an obligation, again, to ensure that the licenses that you issue and promulgate and regulate maintain their value. I argue that, and I'm going to use again an example that we've all heard about in recent times, I'm old enough to remember when even small municipalities would issue taxi medallions. With the values of those taxi medallions have sunk. Now, they've sunk through no action really of council, of government, but really because of the development of technology with Uber and Lyft and the like. But even so, municipalities are finding that they're under the gun and are obligated to at least regulate to some extent Uber and Lyft and those type of entities. To again, one of the reasons is to make sure and protect the asset that they licensed to, to members of the public. So I think you understand the argument. We believe that without full disclosure of all the information, any determination this evening would be premature, and we would ask that upon review, that if you are so inclined to grant the place-to-place transfer, that it include as conditions on the license those representations made by the applicant in their response to our objection to ensure and provide a roadmap to enforcement personnel to make sure that there's no joint advertising and that there's a separate, that there are separate entrances and that there's no commingling of the asset to create an unfair advantage. I'm just going to reserve some time for rebuttal, but I appreciate, again, the time and opportunity.
Thank you. Excuse me, were there any questions about his presentation?
Sorry.
Sean Gertner, sorry.
Sean. None at this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll get another chance, as I said, I reserved.
Good afternoon. Thank you for continuing to hear this application. Jason Michael Ross, I am, for the purposes of this matter, of counsel with the Stone Manuel Law Firm on behalf of Regit LLC. Counsel makes an eloquent argument for an objection that essentially has no merit. It should be noted that this is an application for a place-to-place transfer, and considering a place-to-place transfer application, emphasis should be on the suitability of the proposed site for a liquor store. The objector provides no basis with respect to any health, safety, welfare issues with the location. Also, if the crux of their objection is the fact that, and we will readily admit that there's no dispute as to the fact that ShopRite is a subtenant, a tenant that is a sub-landlord here. ShopRite is leasing the space to my client. And essentially, what counsel's saying is you must presume that essentially my client is lying on his application, and that somehow that there's some undisclosed interest here. But the legal authority from the ABC legal authority pretty much states that a landlord or sub-landlord can rent space. They can own license. They can be owner of licenses and rent space on a fixed rental to a tenant, to a licensee. Essentially, the lease we have here provides for a fixed space rent with CAM. You would run into a problem if the sub-landlord were receiving a percentage of the proceeds of alcoholic beverages, but this is a straight landlord-tenant, type of lease that, only rent is being received. This is pretty much, we had submitted papers which highlight ABC Bulletin 1564, which was an opinion by former Attorney General Arthur Sills back in 1964, which directly addresses this issue on point. Essentially here, the objection should be disregarded. With respect to any special conditions, if you look at the license application, it is laid out in a sketch that that this premises will be wholly separate from the ShopRite. There is no connectors inside. It's got its own entrance, so there's no need for special conditions, and this place-to-place application should be approved, essentially, for that. The one thing he does bring up is, yes, a lease has not been provided, nor is it required to be provided as part of the application. An objector has no right to see the lease of a competitor. What my client would be willing to do, we don't feel it's necessary. We feel that you can take them on their word based on the application that's submitted, that he has a lease that is a proper lease with the sub-landlord. If for some reason there are questions as to that, and there's some kind of need to see the lease, we would be willing to allow counsel for the township to see the lease in camera, where the objector does not. But we do object to the objector competitor seeing the lease. Essentially, my client would not jeopardize this license, another license, ShopRite's licenses, by entering into some kind of deal that was not permissible, and allowing Soccer ShopRite some kind of undisclosed interest that is not permitted, because it subjects all 4 licenses to revocation. If the township or the state ABC decided to come in and do an investigation, that would be, if that were the case, then that would be a problem for all 4 licenses. The 2 that are held by the ShopRite and the 2 that are held by my client. Anyway, essentially, like I said, the facts are not in dispute. Place-to-place application has been submitted. Regis will have a sub-landlord, sub-tenant relationship by the way of this sublease with the Soccer ShopRites. Where there is a fixed rent, a landlord or sub-landlord who is the owner of 2 alcoholic beverage retail licenses may enter into a lease with a tenant who operates a retail liquor store without thereby acquiring a beneficial interest in another license contrary to the provisions of the 2 license statute, and that is set forth in that ABC bulletin, which I mentioned earlier. The proposed site for a liquor store is a permitted retail use. The proposed location will be physically separated from the ShopRite supermarket, have its own separate entrance, and operate as a standalone business within the Friendship Plaza Shopping Center. Essentially, the objector is a competitor whose sole desire is to provide its liquor establishment with protection against economic competition, contrary to the case of law and public policy. And the objection has failed to state any basis, really, for this objection based on the suitability of the site that has a reasonable association with the dangers to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare, commonly recognized as incidents to the sale and consumption of alcohol. There is no substantial widespread sentiment in the community against this transfer application or evidence of a long-established pattern of community conduct that reflects such sentiment. Essentially, this place-to-place transfer application should be granted tonight without any special conditions. And that's really all I have for now.
All right, thank you.
I'm
Deputy
sorry.
Counsel,
I do have one
anything?
question. Is your client in any way affiliated with ShopRite? I think you said no initially, but I just got a little confused.
Only to the extent that they're the proposed tenant.
They're just a tenant,
They're just
so they're
a
not
tenant.
affiliated with the business of Saker ShopRite at
No.
all? Okay.
And I actually have a couple questions, if I may. So the representation is that the lease with Saker ShopRite is for a fixed amount per month, correct?
It's a fixed amount of rent, it's got the base rent, and it's got a CAM charge.
Okay. And that's set forth in the application,
Yes,
and that's under penalty of perjury?
yes.
I also, in the Attorney General's bulletin, I'll note, and I don't know if you touched on this, but you'd mentioned that it's not required for for a fixed sum rental lease to be disclosed in connection with the application?
There's no requirement that it be disclosed.
Okay.
There's nothing that says that it's not required, but there's nothing that says that it is.
That's all I,
And again, we don't feel it's necessary to show the terms of the lease, but we would be willing to show it to you or counsel in camera if you felt that was necessary.
Anything else? Council, any other questions?
No questions at this time, Deputy Mayor.
Councilwoman?
No, none.
Thank you. Would you like
Brief
a
rebuttal.
closing argument or a rebuttal?
As I had reserved. And again, thank you.
Absolutely.
I will be brief, but again, thank you, excuse me, thank you for your time. First, I think council to some extent agrees with me. We had made the suggestion that, in fact, the governing body of the municipality should have on file a copy of that lease. To know that, if, again, my facetious argument, and I never used the word liar. He used the word liar. We're not arguing. We can take him for his word, but you got to trust but verify these things. And that's why I'm asking for, if you are inclined to grant the application, that the resolution not simply reiterate that the transfer is approved, but it has certain conditions that council and the council have reviewed the lease, and it sees that it's a fair market rent, that it's not a subterfuge, because the fixed amount could be $1 plus CAM. I mean, it could be. I'm not saying it is. We don't know because it's not been disclosed. In addition, there should be a representation, following up on Councilman Russo's point, I perceive, that there is no, other than the lease, subleasee, subleasor arrangement, that there's no other arrangement, that they're not going to operate as a trade name as ShopRite Liquors or something like that, so that there's no confusion that they are a completely separate entity, that there's going to be no joint advertising between ShopRite and the liquor store, that they're not going to offer, and I use the example because it happens sometimes with gift baskets. Well, ShopRite will provide the food and they'll have the liquor, and they end up sharing in some, in the sale of that, in that situation. So I don't really, respectfully, I don't really see that we're that far off, because this is why we're making legal argument as opposed to doing a cross-examination. All I'm asking for on behalf of my client is that if you are so inclined to approve this, that you have two things, that you have in your files the due diligence to ensure that there is no undisclosed interest, and that the resolution provide a roadmap for enforcement, which at the end of the day not only protects my client and all license holders in Howell Township, but arguably it quite frankly does further protect the applicant, in my opinion, having sat for some years not in Mr. Clark's seat in Howell Township, but as a municipal attorney in other places. You know, you have an obligation to the applicant as well, and we recognize that. But if they know what they can and can't do, and what your expectations are for the protection of my client and others, there's no misunderstanding here. We know everyone, it's fully disclosed what everyone can and can't do, and what your expectations are for the protection of all license holders. So I would ask that you have the lease. There's no prohibition to having the lease in your file. I fully recognize that if we wanted to thereafter open it, that the amounts could be redacted, because that could be an economic advantage. I granted that during my first discussion with you. But you should have that, and you should also create reasonable conditions such as that they can't operate as ShopRite Liquors, that they have to maintain, as they've set forth, separate exits and entrances, that there's no joint advertising, there's no joint commerce between them. And I appreciate, again, your time. Thank you.
Your arguments, certainly, we understand everything that you've said, and we thank you. Sir?
Essentially, a lot of this is speculation. And like I said, we don't mind showing lease and camera here so if you need to verify, essentially you don't, believe my client that it's, fixed rent, fixed cam, a monthly lease. We're happy to show it in camera. There's no reason to have it in your file. The only reason for that could be for a competitor to basically, subject to Oprah, to attempt to find out what the terms of the lease are between the sublandlord and my client. And as far as special condition goes, for lack of a better term, I would kind of call that overreaching. My client knows its obligations, or through counsel know what its obligations through the ABC Act, the statutes and the regulations, regulating alcoholic beverage, the sale of alcoholic beverage in the state of New Jersey. Essentially, again, I'll reiterate, the objection really is without merit, and this place-to-place transfer should be approved today in favor of my client. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Counsel.
Your argument's pretty well vetted, thank you. Counsel, any concerns or questions that you'd like to raise at this point
Not
with
at-
the counselors?
Not at this time with the councilors.
Mr. Clark, is there any information you'd like to share with us at this time? Other than what you've already given us and all of the written information and arguments that we've read?
No, you have the objection, you have the application package that was submitted to the township, you have the response to it. I've looked over all the papers, I've heard the argument of counsel. I appreciate what the point the objector has raised. I also think that the applicant in his response has addressed a great deal of that. I mean, first, the application is signed by the applicant under penalty of perjury. So it's essentially under oath, and it's at penalty of losing the license. It also, if the statements in there are not true, it also jeopardizes potentially the license of Saker ShopRites. So I don't know that we need to go as far as the objector is suggesting. The Attorney General's opinion, or the ABC Bulletin, is relatively clear about fixed rent leases, and that during the application process, they need not be disclosed to the issuing authority. It's really only in the case of a percentage lease or a gross sales lease, that type of thing, where there may be the opportunity for a disguised or hidden interest. But I think the mindset behind the bulletin is that in an event like this, where you have a fixed rent, there is far less chance of there being hanky-panky or some kind of games being played. So I don't see anything on the face of the objection that raises the need for us to do additional investigation. And in fact, in looking over the response prepared by applicant, I think it's very thorough, and it answered the questions that the objector raised. And I think council can act on the application tonight. And I think that if council is to take a vote, they can approve the transfer as well.
Counsel, are there any questions that you have at this point in time?
None.
Would you need a moment in executive session, or are you prepared to take this to a vote?
I'm prepared to vote.
May I have a motion for or against?
I'll make a motion to accept the applicant's place-to-place transfer.
I'll second, Deputy Mayor.
Roll call, Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes, I'm sorry.
The question, because the motion was plain, and it's not my place to ask a question on the motion while it's going on. So that transfer is without any conditions at all?
The resolution will be written up, and we'll deal with that possibly tonight.
Okay, so you'll then have, maybe I'm misunderstanding you, I apologize. So you may have a second
Okay.
discussion where you may add some
No.
conditions?
No, the
no,
resolution
no,
will
I'm sorry.
memorialize the decision approving the place-to-place transfer,
As it was set forth here,
as stated,
without condition.
without condition.
Based on the
And it's-
information that was given to us by both council.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, good luck.
Okay. We will be going to executive session at 6:30, I presume, and we have reason to do so.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, we have items to discuss under personnel, attorney-client privilege, and potential litigation.
Okay. Would you read the statement, please?
Penny, did you have something to say?
I'm sorry.
Look at Penny's face.
I mean, we're not going into executive session until 6:30, I presume,
We,
but we still need the statement read.
So typically, we go into executive session at 6:30 per the agenda. We can go in earlier if we want, because we don't anticipate, there's no rice notice, no hearing like that that's going to be conducted.
Excellent.
okay,
So we can go in early. We cannot start the meeting early.
That's fine.
So we'll start at 7:30.
As we just, okay,
can I make a motion to enter into executive session?
Sure.
Do I have to do that?
yes.
Okay, then I make a motion to enter into executive session.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Roll call, Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Statement, please.
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of this meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12, and whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 in executive session, whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of the executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed. The governing body will be reconvening to public session thereafter.
Thank you.
We already opened the meeting, so I would like to at this point stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then if we could have a few minutes of silence for our fallen soldiers and police. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I think I put these out of order. Oh, you did? What are they next? I believe. I don't think it's all good. I was not thinking that they were.
I don't think they were in a
They weren't in a
specific order.
order? May I have a motion to accept the minutes from May 21st's council meeting?
So moved, Mayor.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Was I there? Yes. Was I there? Didn't I miss the last board meeting? At the council meeting? No.
No,
Oh, you were there.
That was when you guys...
You were
No,
good.
I wasn't there. so-
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
you gotta
Sorry.
remember
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Do we have any reports from the township officials this evening?
Yes, Mayor, I just have a few quick things. Just to update the council, we had an issue at our DPW where we accept waste oil, where it was actually contaminated, and it costs the township an extensive amount of money to clean up after that.
What was it contaminated with?
Well, this is the third time it's happened in the last two-year period. The first two times it was PCBs. This time it was listed as flammable contaminant. We didn't get a lab report back yet. But for the previous 2 times, it has cost the town over $21,000 for the cleanup of that and remediation. I don't have a cost on this 3rd issue just yet. It's been posted on our website that they can go to the county facility in Tinton Falls to dispose of any waste oil for now, until we decide if we're going to continue with it in the future. But that information is on the township website where the residents can go to.
Could I just ask, how do we know it was contaminated?
They test it. When we dispose of it,
Okay.
the facility tests it. So,
We don't test it when we take it in?
no, that would be cost and time prohibitive to test every sample. The second item I have is our Municipal Alliance Coordinator, Krista Riddle, was just recently informed that she's being named by the Chamber of Commerce as the 2019 Citizen of the Year, and there'll be a official recognition later in the year for that, but they're recognizing her efforts for the Municipal Alliance projects that she started.
Well-deserved, by the way.
Yes. And then finally, we've, the direction of the governing body, we reviewed our agenda review process. We're having our final agenda review on Monday afternoon now, so the finalized agenda was put out yesterday afternoon to give the council and the public more time to review that. Barring any last-minute emergencies to be added, that should be the process going forward. That's all I have.
Is there anyone else?
Mayor, I'd just like to read into the record, one item has been removed from the agenda, a resolution R-19-190, item 9A11, support of Path to Progress recommendations made by New Jersey Economic and Fiscal Policy Work Group.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
No, we'll probably just use them as we need them. If wait until
The mayor's gonna need it. So since you prepared it, would you be able to just go with the mayor and then just sort them, because mayor's got a file and we're not really certain who's who. So you're gonna. Sorry?
yeah. Yep. That's fine.
The lady, we know who it is. We know that she's. Okay. Okay.
Excuse us, I'm sorry.
Yeah, first state numbers on.
What happened here?
I would give a small explanation. I reorganized these while I was signing them, and so we're just trying to get them in the right order. So please forgive me.
I forgot about it too, but I didn't make a note of that. I had no pen. Maybe it's my pen. No, you don't have to.
Okay.
You don't have to.
Okay.
I don't know what it's about. Yeah, sure.
Why you doing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So while the mayor is reorganizing the awards for the EMS, the recognition awards, to give you a little background, we received a handwritten thank you letter from a 66-year-old resident. She was saved during a CPR call. She fell and struck her head and went into cardiac arrest. The caller was her son, and was given CPR instructions over the phone by our township 911 operator until the police officers and our crew arrived. While performing CPR, our crew administered 2 shocks to the patient. The patient regained pulses and respirations, and shortly after, Medic 7 arrived and provided advanced treatment to stabilize the patient. Through the collective efforts of the 911 operator, police officers, squad members, and medics, she is still here today. So this is a Howell's Hero Award, and this is a letter, I'm going to read into the record, that we received. Dear members of Howell Township EMS, on May 30th, I was babysitting my granddaughter at her home, I'm not going to read her address, around 4 p.m. I suffered a cardiac arrest. My son-in-law came home to find me unconscious and on the floor. He called 911. Howell EMS responded and saved my life. I am told that the responders worked for an hour before transporting me to Brick Hospital. I am told that the ride there was very challenging. I want to express my gratitude to those persons who worked so hard to save me. I, of course, have no personal memory of the events. In fact, I cannot remember at most 3 days of that time frame. However, please know that I and my family are so grateful, and we hope that you can extend our thanks to the individuals who responded that fateful night. I would not be here to write this note without their help. So with that said, here are the awards for the Hero Award.
So you want to go up? We could present the awards down at the dais and make that. Nice. Forgive me again. So there are 3 separate awards. This first award is for Brett Kyle, 911 operator for our Howell Police Department. This certificate is presented in recognition of your heroic actions within the Township of Howell on May 30, 2018, which assisted in saving the life of Patricia Sinquet. I hope I said that right. Is that right? Your expertise and willingness to serve others make you a tremendous asset to our community. It is with sincere gratitude that the mayor, myself, and council thank you. The following 2 are for detectives of our police department. Detective David Gilliand and Detective Robert Ortenzi? Someone? Yeah? The certificate is presented in recognition of the heroic actions within the Township of Howell on May 30, 2018, which assisted in saving the life of Patricia Sinquet. Your expertise and willingness to serve others make you a tremendous asset to our community. It's with sincere gratitude that I myself and the council recognize you both for your effort. Thank you very much. Okay, so this one are for our Howell First Aid and Rescue Squad. So I'm going to read the recognition, and then we'll say the names after. It's the same recognition. So the recognition is for volunteers for Howell First Aid and Rescue Squad number 1. The certificate is presented in recognition of your heroic actions within the Township of Howell on May 30, 2018, which resulted in saving the life of Patricia Sinquet. Your expertise and willingness to serve others make you a tremendous asset to our community, and it's with great, sincere gratitude that I myself and the council recognize you and thank you all. So this one is for Shlomo Stern. Anthony DiMatteo. Michael Fornan Sr. Zach Paris. Yehuda Spiegel. This one I might not do well. Gloria Abbas Zeta.
This is Patricia Sinquest. My wife is fully recovered. She has no reason.
Stay up in the picture.
Amazed out. But thanks for the good work. Okay. They all say what an amazing recovery. She has no repercussions at all from this event, and it's such a rare thing, apparently. Thanks to all your good work. And my son-in-law's excellent work in the beginning, before you folks arrived.
I left my glasses.
Things do happen.
Reports. Do we have any other discussion?
Oh,
No?
Mayor, we have a presentation from the Howell Chamber of Commerce.
Sure. Where is that? Oh, in the presentation. Looked.
Good evening, Mayor Berger, council members. Thank you
evening.
very much for inviting me here tonight to discuss the Howell Chambers Business Expo that we're having this coming July 16th. The Howell Chamber of Commerce is obviously designed to try and promote business in Howell, and we want to get the word out that people can shop local, shop Howell. And we thought what better way to do that was than to let them know the types of businesses we have that are doing business in Howell or want to do business in Howell. I want to thank the council for agreeing to partner with us on this project that we're putting together. It's the first time we're doing something on this scale, and I really appreciate the town coming in and partnering with us to make this a reality. But what I want the public to know is that on July 16th from 4 to 8 p.m., the Business Expo is going to be happening at what was the Barnes & Noble building in the Lanes Mills Marketplace. If you're not sure what the Lanes Mill Marketplace is, some people don't know the names of the plazas. This is the one with the Lowe's and the Target and the Stop and Shop. The Barnes & Noble was a standalone building in that complex, and it's a very large facility. I think it's over 20,000 square feet that we're going to have. We've already got 36 vendors signed up. We've only been out 2 weeks. The landlord was kind enough to enter into a contract with us for the 1 day. We appreciate that from them and the help that they're giving us. So we're pretty excited that we're going to have a great turnout of vendors, and we're hoping we're going to get a great turnout from the public. The event is free of charge. It's 4 to 8 p.m. on the night of July 16th, free of charge. We are going to put together a taste of Howell, we're calling it, and that's going to be $5 per person if you want to participate in the food tastings for our local restaurants.
I love that idea.
Thank you. I can't take credit for it, but I'm here as the president.
You shared it.
You get credit when you're the president for good things and bad things. So come out to the public that wants to see who's doing business in Howell, what our businesses have to offer. Come out and see. And if you have a business in Howell or you want to do business in Howell, you should be here at this expo. We're hoping we're going to have hundreds of our residents walking through, exposing your business. So we.
Have you been promoting this through the schools as well?
I don't believe we've been promoting it through the schools. We sometimes have difficulties promoting things through the schools. I'll see if we can talk to the superintendents to see if they have any objection to that. I mean, even if we just get
Just a flyer, yeah.
flyer posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the school, that would be great. We've been putting them at the post office, we're putting here at Town Hall. We've been asking businesses, as I said, we've only been out 2 weeks, and we've already gotten a tremendous response.
I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
The businesses that we have already, are they putting these things up as well in their facilities, like in their stores and stuff?
I believe they are, we're asking them to. It's also on the Howell Chambers Facebook page.
Is it on our website as well?
Yes, Mayor, it is.
Thank you.
Okay, we've gone out to Howell Happenings and some other, the Howell Times, to see if we can't promote it that way. We'd really like to get the word out. If you're a Howell Chamber member, the table is $125 for the 4 hours. If you're not a Howell Chamber member, the table is $200, but that includes Howell Chamber membership for the remainder of 2019. So you get the price for the table, plus you get 6 months of membership, and then 5 months of membership in the Howell Chamber. If you're interested, if you're a business and you want to know how to sign up, go on the Howell Chamber website, Google Howell Chamber, go on the website, the application is there, you can fill it out online. Otherwise, you can contact the chamber, we'll get you an application if you're one of these people that likes filling them out with a pen and paper. We encourage home businesses in Howell to be there. It's difficult for home businesses to get word out as to who they are and what they do, what services they provide, or what they make. So this would be a good opportunity for home businesses to, get some exposure at a very low cost for advertising. There are going to be, we have 6 sponsors other than the town. If you do want to be a sponsor, it's $500. You'll get large individual signage, letting the people know that you're a sponsor, and you're also going to get 10 minutes to do a commercial for your business. If you've been in the Barnes & Noble, you know that they have an elevated area, what used to be the Starbucks. We're going to have microphone speakers up there, and you can do your 10-minute commercial for your business as a sponsor of the event, letting people know who you are and what you do. As I said, there will be food. We anticipate all the vendors will be bringing, giveaways to promote their businesses. We're going to have prizes. We already have 1 grand prize. The Blue Claws were kind enough to donate a 1 night and 20 tickets to one of their luxury suites. If you've ever been to those suites, they're very nice. They're up second tier. They're air conditioned. They're going to have wait staff available to you. So that's a $795 value that the Blue Claws donated. It's one of our grand prizes. I can't tell you right this moment what the others will be, but those grand prizes, you get a ticket when you come in, but you have to be there at the end for the drawing to be eligible to win the grand prize. We're also having representatives from the township present. My understanding is we're going to have people from the construction department, fire protection, land use, recycling, and these people will be there available to citizens if they have questions for township officials as to, recycling or getting permits. If I want to put a pool in, what do I need to do? So the members of the town body will be there to answer those questions for the citizens. So we're very excited about this. Shop Local, Shop Howell works only if the people know what's available to buy in Howell. So we're going to try and put this together and make a success of it. And if we can make it a success this year, we can make it an annual event.
I love the idea. I think it's fabulous.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I?
Please.
Thank you. I just have a question. So as the companies, the businesses are coming on board, are you advertising that? Are you announcing it, or is it a big surprise?
No, every time somebody comes on board, a Facebook post goes out letting them know.
Who it
People
is.
who follow our Facebook page, so-and-so has joined up and will be at the expo, business expo. So you got to follow our Facebook page to know that, which is
Okay.
also a good thing to do.
There's your pitch right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Great idea.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any other questions? Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate it.
Very nice.
Mayor, finally, we have the presentation from the chair of our CDBG Citizens Committee.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
On behalf of the 2019 CDBG Citizen Participation Committee, consisting of Elaine Taylor, Marcos Caspento, Donald DeBello, Matthew Howard, and myself, Kathy Novak, Chair, I'm here to present the fiscal year 2019 Community Development Block Grant, referred to as CDBG, application being referred to as resurfacing a portion of Havens Bridge Road. On May 9th, 2019, the Citizens Participation Committee, along with Tom Savino, Engineering Coordinator, Justin Yost, Deputy Director, Community Development, and Jim Herman, Engineer and Director, Community Development, we met and to discuss several potential projects for this year's application. After much discussion, the committee determined that the resurfacing of Havens Bridge Road would best qualify for funding and therefore would be pursued under this year's funding request. This project will consist of milling and repaving a portion of Havens Bridge Road between Adelphia Farmingdale Road, Monmouth County Route 524, and the Manasquan River Bridge. Under the township's master plan, Havens Bridge Road is designated as a collector street, which are roadways that provide links between our local residential streets and primary arterials. This grant application is for approximately a half mile of the roadway and includes the portion adjacent to the Griebling Elementary School. The intent of the project is to surface mill the roadway, repair any failed subbase, and install a 2-inch minimum thick top course of pavement. Any damaged concrete curb will be replaced as necessary to support the new roadway. In anticipation of continuing with the recommendation of the Citizens Participation Committee, the Department of Community Development created a rough cost estimate for the project. Based on this estimate, we are requesting the maximum grant amount of $200,000 from the county. The department anticipates preparing the engineering plans and specifications utilizing in-house staff. If the council agrees with our presentation, the CDBG rules require a quick straw poll vote of the council members to approve or deny the application. No formal resolution is required, and at this time, Jim Herman and I will take any questions from the council.
What's the extent of work that needs to be done on that bridge?
It's actually not the bridge, it's from the bridge to County Route 524. A few years ago, we paved from Casino to the bridge, and this time we're going to go from the bridge to 524.
Okay.
It'll be milling of the existing pavement. There's quite a bit of base repair near Farmside Drive that is needed. We're going to potentially make a connection of the sidewalks from the development to the school because there seems to be about a 100-foot gap there. Improve some of the curbing along the school frontage, and generally resurface the entire roadway, restripe, and finish up with topsoiling along the edges and seeding.
Thank you. I have no further questions. Anybody?
May I ask the mayor to open up the meeting to the public for public comment at this time?
Yes, I can. Yes, I will open up for public comment. Does anyone have any questions on the CDBG grant application?
And just one thing to note, it's kind of important, the CDBG eligible areas are where we have to stick to for this project. Unfortunately, if you guys can see it on the screen right now, the only area in town that is left is the area pretty much surrounding the villages. So from 524 through the villages and on the other side of Route 9, which is Moore's Landing, Point of Woods, That's the only area left in town. So we had to choose from that area. So I couldn't choose, let's say, Newton's Corner Road. I couldn't choose Birdsall Road, roads that are really in poor condition because the CDBG eligible area is only that area. So just want to make sure everyone understands that.
Thank you.
I actually do have a question, sorry.
Please.
Do we have a time frame when this will begin, and will it affect, because I know it's by Gribbling, so will it affect the schools and the buses and all that stuff?
2020 year, right?
So the time frame is not set yet. This is all federal HUD funding. So the funding will go from us, the application will go from us to the county submits it to the federal government. The federal government kind of does not have a time frame on when they respond.
Is it 19 funding or 20 funding?
It is 19 funding. Yes, and 20 funding has already been requested, and we are going to have another meeting in the next 3 weeks to talk about 2020's project because they want that application by the end of July.
Well, that
so-
makes more sense than,
I know, but it's just the way the government works and the timeframes. So if we get the agreements in place and the county approval and the federal government approval, then we're going to try to design the project in-house as fast as we can and get it out to bid. There's a small chance we can get it done this fall. I don't know the exact timing until we hear from the federal government about the approvals.
if we can't get it built, there's no forfeiture, right? You just do it next year? Or
There's
we can't-
timeframes associated now supposedly, but we've never missed one yet. And we do not plan on missing another one.
Well, obviously, the reason I asked, I don't know how soon it was going to be, because obviously with the school, they are affecting buses and detours, and I know the bridge was closed for quite some time a while back, right?
If I had to guess, it'll probably be right as school starts.
Of course, all right, I just wanted to make
Because
sure.
why?
I just want to put that on the
what else would
record.
happen, right?
Yeah,
Murphy's Law.
okay.
Yep.
I didn't know if we had any control over when, or,
We don't have any control over when the agreements and documents between the county and this federal government are prepared and finalized. The only thing we can control is when we bid it and when we award it, and then when the contractor starts. So we can control that to a point, and we'll do our best to minimize disruption, but it is construction, there will be disruption, there will be detours, there is, like everything else, in order to get it better, you have to have a little bit of pain to get there.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
So then, Mr. Clark, at this point, we just do a roll call and vote?
No, you can do a straw poll amongst yourselves, all in favor.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
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 So it looks like it's unanimous on the vote.
Unanimous,
So
thank
noted.
you.
Thank you very much. It was, I really learned a lot, and I'm grateful that I was able to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
See, we're not so bad, Kathy, are we?
Excuse me, Mayor, we have actually one more item that wanted to read into the record that was removed from the agenda.
Yes.
Item number 9A9, a resolution to authorize developer agreement for townhomes at Eagle Oaks has been removed from the agenda.
Do we have anybody on the list?
No, Mayor, nobody signed up.
No?
Nope.
Can I have that, so I could write the people's name and address on there? Please, thank you. Wait. Thank you very much.
Tina Smilek, 33 Charles Street, Howell. First, the final agenda was out the day before. Thank you again. It was nice to have. First question, 9A.7, affordable housing. What are we still dealing with affordable housing that, I thought this was settled?
There's quite a bit of paperwork to go along with our settlement, so we have to pass ordinances, resolutions, a lot of the legalese that Mr. Clark can probably elaborate on. So,
Sure, so we have to do that, and then come September, October, sometime later in the fall, we have to go before the court again on a compliance hearing to demonstrate that what we said we were going to do at the settlement hearing, we've actually done or have taken significant steps to do that. So
Okay.
there's a bit left to do before we're totally done with
Okay,
everything.
so this is probably, we've got a long road to go still, and even though he wasn't hired as our affordable housing attorney, he is still going to complete the process.
Right, because of his institutional knowledge, he's a holdover, and rather than sort of switch boats in midstream, we're going to stick with him because it'll probably end up being less expensive in the long run.
Okay, great. 9A.8, the installation of the generator for the senior center. Will that allow us to open the senior center up, say we have another Superstorm Sandy or something else, where maybe our seniors are not able to keep warm in the house? Would we be able to open it up and utilize it?
I believe yes.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And this is from 2015 and 17 MCIA money. So it's
Okay.
old capital that we're getting
Right.
caught up with.
Okay. 9A10, purchase of the Deerwood Park, which I am totally in favor of. Just a question, this property was bought in 2004 for $400,000 by the current owners. Right now, it's assessed on the county tax thing for $172,800. We're paying $450. Aren't our assessments at market value?
I guess.
Is
Jeff?
this an assessment question or a price question?
A price question, because isn't Monmouth County, when I go on Mod 4 and I look up the bottom block, it gives you the assessed value, and isn't that supposed to be market value?
So, given this particular location, their asking price was $450,000. We are not the only interested party.
Okay.
And so they had a bit of leverage. They preferred to sell it to us, but they weren't going to deviate from the asking price significantly. So we're confirming it for purposes of the ordinance that was previously passed.
Okay. 9A12, the lease agreement. My pet peeve, my big pet peeve is council saying, Mayor, sign this if you agree with it after it's already read. And my question is any of the council going to read these lease agreements and all agree before the mayor signs on it? I mean, I'm just not a person that says, hey, here, figure out negotiate the deals and then, just sign on it. We don't need to read it. I mean, do you guys want to read these lease deals?
Yeah, I don't think the mayor signed this.
I didn't sign this yet.
No, you didn't sign it yet, but the actual resolution states that they're giving you the right to sign it without it coming back to council.
Sure. I mean, typically what we do is when we're going to enter into an agreement, we authorize the necessary parties, so the mayor, some cases I'm involved with it, or the township manager, and that allows the negotiation and completion of it without having to come back for further approval. So, yeah, the mayor will read it, and if she has any questions, she'll consult probably with me, and we'll
But what if anybody else on the board? Because there's 5 equal positions here on the board.
Everybody has received a copy of the proposed contract in their package, and so they can vote on it tonight. If there's any further amendments, then we'll vote on an amendment.
So you already have this contract done,
I drafted it.
drafted it? Okay.
Mayor, may I? In defense of the mayor, one specific thing that came across to us today, the mayor was put in her folder, and she made a point of stating that she needed to read through it a little bit more, and that's why we pulled it off the agenda. So she does read them, and,
I trust she reads them. I want to make sure the
well,
rest of you are reading.
we were all together. We were together when she flagged it, so we do that in executive session.
But I want to make sure all 5 of you are.
We get it.
Yes.
That's my whole point, because there isn't one person standing behind this. When she signs that, it's all 5 of you
We
that
understand.
stand behind that.
Understood.
Okay. And then I guess if any resident wants to see what the leases are, we just Oprah it. It's not made public. Okay. 9A-14, the Cry Wolf alarm billing. How much do we make off of this program?
Looking it up.
9A.
Let's bring it out.
Lou was looking it up. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Tina,
it's
just
okay.
give a sec.
I'm fine.
24,000?
Okay, last year, we made $44,415.
And that's after payment, because they get a percentage, right?
Correct, that is net of any administration fees.
And where does that money go?
It, historically, it has gone in as non-anticipated revenue, so it goes straight into surplus.
Straight into surplus. Okay. That's it. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Lou? I'm sorry. This might be, I might not be asking the question correctly. But this is one type of revenue that we're receiving, and it's going into surplus, right, is what you just said. Do we have other revenue streams that are coming in that go directly into surplus, or are they, do they have restriction or any restriction or deed to them?
No, so for example, there are certain revenues that we anticipate in the budget. Our construction code fees, our fees and permits, our interest on investments, interest on delinquent taxes. Any excess of what we collect over what is anticipated in the budget all flows through operations and goes to fund balance. Revenues such as the false alarm reduction penalty fees, because you never know where, it's a hard revenue to kind of judge where you're going to be. So we do obviously receive a monthly payment from the third-party administrator, but it's revenue that we take in that we don't anticipate. So when we close the year, it just goes straight into surplus, so there's no restrictions on it. It's just money that has been collected, and it's basically money collected over zero anticipated, so it's straight fund balance to us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else?
Sandra Solly, Birdsall Road, Farmingdale. I want to ask more information about this authorized renewal of lease agreement, 9A12. What's the length of time and how much money?
It's a 5-year lease.
5?
Right.
What are they paying for it?
It's in exchange for services. They maintain the fields. It's the same agreement that was in place previous, that was expired.
I was told by someone who's a member of Pop Warner that they were supposed to pay us $6,000 a year and that they owed us a lot of money. So I'm just checking. You're saying it's just exchange services to plow the field, to maintain the field? That's it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Parisi. I live at 2 Castle Court. As many of you know, Barbara Dixell routinely attends these meetings, and she's a very passionate member of our community, but she cannot be here tonight, and she prepared a statement that I agreed to read. The opinions expressed in the statement are that of Barbara Dixell only. Regarding Brian, the Howell manager, he is a retired employee from another job and has a pension. He was hired by the previous council as the Howell Township manager with a salary of around $160,000, if I remember the conversation from a recent council meeting. The previous council also voted to give Brian a stipend or bonus of around $50,000 or $50,000 extra above the salary he was hired for. It is my opinion, Barbara Dixell, that since we will face an 8% tax increase this year, Manager Brian under no conditions should be given 1 penny of this extra stipend or bonus. He is already making enough money in salary. Vote no on this extra money. if Brian is not happy, then it is my opinion, Barbara Dixell, that Brian should move on and look for another township who is willing to hire him. Don't bilk the taxpayers for this money. Signed, Barbara Dixell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, not Barbara. Is there anyone else?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm here about
Jerry.
the farmer's market.
Name and address,
Oh, I'm
please,
sorry,
sir.
Jerry Barron, 37 Danella Way. I thought you knew me by now.
I know, but
But anyway, I'd like to know, at the last meeting, there was mention about work being done on an ordinance about the farmer's market. I'm just wondering what the status of it is. Has any work gone into it? I know right now you can only have it 5 times. It's falls into what, the garage sale?
The flea market ordinance, correct. There has not been. We've had a lot of other things going on, but I am looking into it, and I'm looking at ordinances in other townships, so I'm going to start putting together one, but nothing's been done yet.
Do you anticipate having it on the agenda by September, or? I'm just, roughly, I mean.
I don't really know, to be honest with you. I would hope so, but, it depends on how busy the summer is with other things, but I always try and get them done pretty quick.
All right, okay, thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to come up in this portion of the meeting? I see no one. I am closing this portion. And let's move. Okay. Do we have any exclusions from the consent agenda that you want to vote on separately?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move 9A1 through 9A24, and we already excluded 9A9 and 9A11. They've both been removed.
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. You went up to 21, right? Or 24?
Motion.
We're into motions. I just want to, I'm sorry. May I have a motion for 9B1?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of zoning board member Michael San Clemente, whose term expires December 31st, 2019, and appoint new member Paul Saya and alternate Glenn Cantor.
I'll second.
And if I may, and before we go further with the vote, I'd like to say that I've worked with Mr. San Clemente for many years, and he's been an outstanding member of the zoning board, extremely conscientious, very community-oriented, and I've actually seen him work under extreme pain when he was ill once. Working for the community one afternoon, we were out, and he was in such dire shape, we actually had to call an ambulance to take him to the hospital. I mean, he is totally committed. He will surely be missed on the zoning board, and he and his wife are very active members in the community, and I wish them a lot of luck in their new endeavor.
Mayor, may I? I just wanted to clarify something. Deputy Mayor had said she was appointing Paul Saya to that open position, and then who was the person you were moving?
Glenn Cantor?
Glenn Cantor?
As an alternate.
And what about Mr. Moretti? Are we moving him to alternate 1? I just wanted to be clear for the
Yes.
record. Is that?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, but I did not include this.
So,
I can change my motion if it would be clearer.
So let me just
Thank
summarize
you, Jim.
quickly.
Can I take it back?
You right now have Mr. San Clemente, who is resigning.
Correct.
He is a full 4-year member whose
Correct.
term will expire 12/31/2019.
That is correct.
The current alternates, alternate number 1 is Mr. Paul Saya. His 2-year term
Correct.
will expire on 12/31/2020.
That is correct.
Alternate number 2, James Moretti. 2-year term will expire 12/31/2019, this year. So your motion is to move Paul Saya, alternate number 1, up to a full member. Then you're going to appoint, or you're looking to appoint Glenn Cantor as an alternate. Will he be alternate 1 or 2?
Alternate 2, and alternate 1 would be Mr. Moretti. So shall I just restate this entire motion?
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, I just wanted to be clear with what you're saying.
I would restate the motion
Okay.
so it's clear as to what's being
I'd like to
voted upon.
accept the resignation of zoning board member Michael San Clemente, term expiring 12/31/2019, and appoint in his position, Paul Saya. Moving alternate 2 to alternate 1, which is Mr. Moretti, and appointing alternate 2 as Glenn Cantor on the zoning board of adjustment.
Nicely done.
Before I second this motion, I would also like to thank Michael San Clemente for the many years of service to our community. I believe he was on multiple boards and commissions. He's old Howell, you know, he's served this time in our community very well, and I want to thank him publicly for that. So thanks, Mike. And I second the motion.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
No.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No. Ordinance number 0-19-32, 10.1, 2019 assignment of Van Schoik deed from MCF to Howell, sale and purchase of real property at $10,800. Ordinance number 0-19-32, introduced and passed on first reading on 5/7/19 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press, issue of 5/10/19, is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Ordinance authorizing the acquisition of lands from Monmouth Conservation Foundation for open space in the Township of Howell, known as Block 51, Lot 36.04, Van Schoik property, approximately 4 acres on Preventorium Road.
I'd like to open this section of the meeting to public hearing. Open the public hearing section. I will close it.
I'd like to make the motion that ordinance number 0-19-32 be finally passed and adopted, and that the notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 6/14/19 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. 0-19-33, 10.2, salary ordinance, township manager. Ordinance number 0-19-33, introduced and passed on first reading on 5/7/19 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press, issue of 5/10/19, is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request. I would like to open this to the public. Oh, sorry.
An ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the Township Manager of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open up this section for public hearing.
Tina Smilik, Charles Street, Howell, New Jersey. I just want to tell you, this contract here is the reason this state has problems with our pension laws and has problems with our health care laws. When you circumvent the laws and you play with words in order to get your way, what happens is what we're facing today in New Jersey, which is pensions are failing, health care is failing, and we're having problems. Right now, I'm going to assume in the first introduction, it was said that the pension system said they couldn't answer, and they advised us to go to our own attorneys to look at it. The pension system will never tell you if it doesn't coincide with their pension, it'll tell you they do. If it doesn't coincide with their pension, it's going to tell you to go talk to your lawyers. So pension did not agree to this. The state pension, if they agreed and said this was under the state law, they would say, yes, it's under the state law. They're not, if you call up, they're not just going to say, go to a lawyer. So that to me is, the other thing is compensation to retain existing medical benefits. That's what we're calling it now. Compensation, meaning we're giving him money to pay for the benefits that he's incurring in his Pension 330 plan, correct?
Right? In the 330.
Right? We're putting compensation, we're paying him for the money he has to pay towards his 330 plan. I just want to clear yes.
He is being paid income, which he can allocate how he sees fit, and he's indicated in his contract that he's going to allocate a portion of that income to the payment of those benefits.
Okay, that's good, because on Pension 330 plan, it states your employer cannot reimburse you for any Chapter 330 cost. To do so would disqualify you for coverage under the law.
I understand what you're saying. We disagree. I have a different interpretation. I will note for the record that when we contacted the state, they didn't say go talk to a lawyer. They said you are asking us for a legal opinion. It is a very different thing. It may not seem like it, but to a lawyer it is. And so our position all along has been that this is defensible and it saves the township money. Now, if it turns out that we're wrong, then Brian has the option to go into township benefits, which is going to cost the township money. So as between the two, saving the township money or spending taxpayer money, it seems like a worthwhile endeavor to do what we're doing. And given that it's defensible, as I said.
Does anybody here get free health care that they don't pay into?
Would you rather that we pay $30,000?
We follow the law, yes, I would.
Okay, well then it's noted.
No, because
And like I said, we have a
This is
difference
why-
of opinion on it.
This is why people are mad. This is why people do not like politicians, because you are constantly circumventing the system in order to get what you want. Do we pay more? Is not following the law and taking a chance that whether this is right or not right worth following the law? It's just, stop circumventing. Let's just follow the law.
Again,
Okay,
circumventing and not following the law are both legal opinions. They're not
I'm not
correct.
legal, so it's my opinion.
It is your opinion. My opinion, as a lawyer, is that what we're doing is defensible.
Okay,
If
and
it
my...
turns out that we're wrong, then Brian will elect to take the benefits through the township.
Thank you, I'll send it to the state.
Is there anyone for this portion of the meeting? I will close this portion of the meeting.
A motion that ordinance number 01933 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the June 14th, 2019 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
I will second.
Roll call, Mr.
And,
Donovan?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Before we go to a vote on this, I absolutely must make several comments. One of them being, this contract is already in effect. It was signed in effect by the full council, including the mayor, already. So this is not something that is new. It is already in effect and has been signed. The $10,000 that was just referred to, that Mr. Gigan is getting as part of his package, in my mind, although it is income, the other option is for him to take our health benefits for $30,000, which I would think we would be punished by the public to even consider that. But I have to say, in all honesty, that this contract has already been signed by the mayor. I sat on the council with her at the time. When this board sits down, when this council sits down together, they have to abide by the contract that has been signed. So no one sitting here should really vote against it, because we should all be in favor of a contract that is in effect by the very council on which they serve. And I would be really surprised to see somebody take a different approach to this. Actually, maybe not as surprised as I would be ashamed, and I hope that that's not the case. As I said, again, the contract has been in effect since last November, signed by this mayor, so this is something that should not be reassessed.
This mayor is sitting here, just in case you weren't sure.
This mayor, Mayor Teresa Berger, has already signed this contract. So make no mistake that this is in effect by the full council. Thanks.
May I? And with that said, we keep forgetting that what the ordinance is a salary ordinance. We keep mincing words.
Oh, is this
Excuse me, Mayor, excuse me.
There is discussion on the motion.
Thank you. Please, I know, but please, I'm speaking. You don't want to be interrupted, either do I, okay? Thank you. Please don't roll your eyes at me, because I'm very professional. So the point of the matter is that this is not about the contract that was negotiated. This is about an ordinance that memorializes the contract that was negotiated in good faith last year. So we keep beating around the bush, and we keep bringing up contract. The contract is in full effect, as the deputy mayor says. This is about the ordinance. Let's stick to the facts, let's stick to the agenda, and let's move on from this. Thank you.
We are dealing with this contract, and it was prior to us, correct?
Correct.
But in Section 5 of this contract, it states, "The council may at any time conduct a review to agree to any other salary permitted under the township salary ordinance."
But have we done
right
that?
now, it's $145,000. It's
No.
not 160, it's not 185. So this contract says we have the right to review and reevaluate and redo that contract.
Have we done that, John? But I'm just saying, have we, as a council, if that was an issue and you wanted to review it, then why haven't we done
The
that?
contract you're talking about, I'm reading it.
No, with all due
You
respect,
addressed-
I'm just saying.
The mayor addressed the contract to the mayor.
Yeah.
All right, and I have read it, and I'm new to this council, and I'm reading it, and it says we could address it.
No, I
for the
understand
new
that.
salary.
I
So
understand that. But
that's it.
have we met about this and reviewed it and?
Yes, I have read this numerous times.
Have we, as a council, sat collectively and reviewed that as it
Yeah,
says?
yeah,
And have you made a recommendation?
That's why this is the fifth time going around.
No,
The
John,
first
we're
time-
talking about the ordinance.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, can we, I'm done. Thank you very much.
I just have a couple of questions for Joe, Mr. Clark. As far as the stipend, you said it saves the town $20,000.
That's my understanding, compared to our cost of insurance, correct?
So it's your advice, like you said before during the open session, that the stipend is valid, correct?
It's my position that the stipend is defensible, correct?
Did you receive any legal authority or opinions to the contrary?
No, I have not. We've also spoken to outside counsel about it.
Okay, now what happens, and this is something that I was trying to research, if say that this portion of the agreement, the one Councilman Panovich was referring to, is invalid, would that null and void the entire agreement?
The stipend portion, if the stipend portion is found to be invalid?
Would that null and void the entire agreement?
No, that would give Brian the opportunity to accept township benefits. It doesn't void the contract as an entirety, and I think maybe that's something that's getting lost in the mix here. The contract is not void if the stipend is found invalid. There's specifically in that provision a clause allowing him to take township benefits. So I don't think that's as simple as saying, well, we don't like the contract. The contract has been signed. It's valid. It's enforceable. The contract specifically contemplates the salary ordinance being amended from time to time. Now, we're amending it now. You don't amend the salary ordinance prior to negotiations, because by doing so, you're giving away the high end of your range. You don't tell the person you're negotiating with the uppermost amount you're willing to pay. We're here to do that now.
Okay. And what is the remedy? Because it's one of my jobs up here, our job really, is to avoid litigation.
Well,
What could
that's what-
happen if we vote this down?
That's what would happen. I mean, I can't speak for Brian, but, obviously, we have a contract, there'd be a breach, we may get some claims for fraud, intentional negligent misrepresentation, we may get an action to mandate the council take action to pass a salary ordinance. We'll certainly incur a tremendous amount of legal fees. And at the end of the day, I have a feeling we're going to be pretty much right where we are.
Except for the lawsuit.
So, I mean, that's my opinion. I think that we've been kind of talking about this particular ordinance for a while, but understand, I mean, the deputy mayor had a point. The resolution was passed previously, and the contract was signed. This is a ministerial act. And if, as Councilman Bonovich suggests, we revisit the salary, that can be done. It's a year-long contract. There's less time left on it than we've already burned. So, at some point, negotiations are going to have to take place with him again, and probably relatively soon.
I'll call the question. Vote.
We're ready for a roll call.
Roll call?
Mr. Bonovich?
No.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No. ...2019 municipal budget.
Adoption of ordinance 11.1.
Yep, one more left.
Forgive.
Thank you.
0-19-34, 11.1, an ordinance creating Chapter 252 entitled Sewer and Water, Article 3, entitled Water Service in Freehold Acres. I'm sorry? Excuse me, Freewood. Did I say Freehold?
I don't know.
Did I say Freehold?
Yes. Okay, I can find it, John, sorry.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-19-34 on first reading by title and to order to the same to be published in the 6/14/19 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 7/16/19 at 7:30 PM prevailing time in the municipal building.
I second.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, creating Chapter 252 entitled Sewer and Water, Article 3 entitled Water Service in Freewood Acres of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. I was just looking for something from the budget. Okay, 2019 budget, R-19-203, adoption of the 2019 municipal budget. This is to review and discuss? That's how it's presented here. I mean, I could give you...
We've had the open hearing already.
Right.
Yeah.
This is just a vote for the council. It's been tabled twice so far.
Is this the final vote?
Yes.
I don't have anything to read.
Yeah, I don't see any link, there's no link.
There's no, that's my point. That's why
Wasn't there last time.
Yeah, it wasn't, right?
No, there is no resolution.
there's nothing for me
There's
to.
nothing like you're accustomed to.
So there's no motion,
That's what I was
there's
looking
no...
for. That's why I read this. Well, I guess we just need a motion to approve the 2019 budget? Is that?
Yep.
Is that the?
That is correct. You would need a motion and a second and a roll call vote, just as like as if you were adopting any other ordinance or a resolution.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I have a motion?
Make a motion to pass 2019 budget?
I'll second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
No.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No.
On.
Is there any unfinished business?
Yes. There is for me.
Okay.
I just can't say how disappointed I am, Mayor, in your lack of
I
leadership.
think at this point, I
on
would
the
like to
budget.
call the meeting as closed.
On the
At this
budget.
point.
We had the discussion on the motion.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
As I said, I am really disgusted with the...
I am closing the meeting at
This
this
is
point.
open discussion.
No, it's not. You're
You just
done.
called it. You just called for open discussion. This is discussion that I would like to
Not
share.
for something that we just voted on.
I can discuss anything I choose. The vote is done, correct? Then let me reword this. I'm just disgusted at your lack of leadership.
I will say that the unfinished business portion of the meeting is for business that's been carried
Disgusted?
over from a previous meeting.
Can you elaborate on that,
You
please,
are
Lucio?
so inappropriate.
Please.
Oh, I don't think so.
What's that?
Can you elaborate on what that means, unfinished
Sure,
business?
so like carrying
Thank
the
you.
budget forward technically is unfinished business because we brought it forward from another meeting. It's something like the resolutions that were removed from tonight's agenda. We'll
Okay.
probably put them on with the consent agenda next time, but they could also be considered unfinished business. It's not for continued discussion.
Okay, just wanted to be clear, thank you.
I'll take a motion to end this meeting.
Motion to close the meeting?
I will second that.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Gladly.